This is way worse than we thought, as the Pacers stealing game one in OKC has drastically moved the needle for odds makers at the sports books. Vegas is convinced that the Indiana Pacers toppling the Thunder for their first championship is much more plausible after game one, and they're crediting a certain someone for that swing. We're going to get into who that player is, how the odds have shifted exactly, and what's going to happen again at game two. But before we get deep into that, I just want to say real quick that 68% of you guys are not watching or not subscribed to this channel. In the middle of the NBA Finals, we're bringing post game, pre game, watch alongs, content daily, everything we can for this team to stay up to date in the most important part of basketball season. So make sure you sub up so you don't miss any of that. And without further ado, let's get into the who of this situation. The who we're talking about is between these two gentlemen right here. We'll start with the right, Tyrese Haliburton, right? The guy who has hit the shot in game one, who's hit the shot all postseason long, the Indiana Pacers' heartbeat and the revitalization of their organization. This guy has made a big step in the odds according to Vegas. Who has he made a step against? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the league MVP, the scoring champion, and the offensive engine of the Oklahoma City Thunder. A guy who had a good game one, 38 points on 30 field goal attempts. He chipped in 3 steals, 5 boards. He had a solid game one. But Vegas saw Tyrese Halliburton's performance, the performance of the Indiana Pacers, them stealing game one, and they looked at the why. They saw Tyrese Haliburton hit the shot that gave the Pacers the W, a game they only led for zero point 0.3 seconds. If you didn't see this game and we need to recap what happened, well, to start, I'm jealous of you because as a Thunder fan, this was a heartbreaking collapse, a game that we should have had sealed and signed away in the first half, realistically. We were up 12 at halftime, but we had forced 20 turnovers off the Pacers and only scored 9 points off of it. And the Pacers were able to claw back into the second half, were able to claw back in the last 3 minutes when they were down 9 points, and they were able to steal game one at the Paycom Center, steal home court advantage in the series, just like they've been doing all playoffs long. We saw the Pacers to get here, they won the first 2 rounds in 5 games and toppled the Knicks in six. This is a team that needs to not be underestimated, and their leader not to be underestimated. Halliburton only had 14 points in game one, but he had the two most important that could be of the series. Already, we could already say that might be the most important shot of the series. And he's delivered time and time again in the clutch. And Vegas has taken notice of this. Let's start with what happened coming into the series. 6 days ago, CBS Sports posted at DraftKings Sportsbook, OKC Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an overwhelming minus 600 favorite, followed by Indiana's Tyrese Haliburton at a plus 750, Pascal Siakam plus 1600, J-Dub plus 3500, Chet plus 8,000. So what can we take away from this? One, having a player at a minus 600 favorite to win Finals MVP, they strongly believed the Thunder would win this series. We see the gap between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. They believe that when the Thunder win this series, the league MVP will unequivocally be the driving force of this win. And thirdly, we see the gap between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Haliburton at a plus 750. They believed a wide margin existed between these two players. A lot of this is no longer the case. Let's take a look just 48 hours after game one at those same odds for that same exact award. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has dropped to a minus 300 favorite. Tyrese Haliburton at a plus 350. His odds cut in half for Finals MVP. Vegas genuinely believes that the Indiana Pacers have taken a significant step in increasing their odds to win after they stole game one. And they believe Tyrese Halliburton will be that guy. As we see the next closest thing, Siakam at a plus 1,200 and Jalen Williams at a plus 5K, right? They believe that the gap between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Haliburton has massively shrunk. When we take a look at these guys' regular season, right? The league MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, averaged 32.7 a game, 5 boards a game, 6.5 assists a game, almost 3 stocks. And while he was shooting efficiently over 50% from the field, 37.5 from the 3-point line. I mean, these are MVP-esque numbers, no doubt about it. But when you take a look at the counterpart, Halliburton, 18.6 points, 3.5 boards, great passer, averaging 9.2 assists and only 1.6 turnovers. He's an efficient scorer. He shoots 47% from the field, 39% from three. And he is a shot creator as well. We see that 56% of his shots are threes, and 53% of the threes are assisted to 47 unassisted. So this guy's making his own shots on top of making shots for others. However, when you look at these numbers, man, there is a staggering levels of difference between Halliburton's regular season and between Shai's regular season. Halliburton has picked it up a notch into the playoffs. He's averaging 19 and a half points, 9.5 assists, and he's up to 6 rebounds. However, the gap in the numbers and the eye test, apparently, Vegas is seeing a large difference. And the difference is way, way worse than we thought. And it's not just in the finals MVP aspect, ladies and gentlemen. The odds of this series have shifted a dramatic amount, a drastic amount after the first game. Let's take a look. This was coming into the series right here. OKC minus 700 to win the series, one of the biggest finals favorites ever. Since 96, only six teams have had better odds to win the chip than the Thunder coming into the series. The biggest finals favorite, this is the only thing I can really take solace in, ever was the 0-1 Lakers, who were minus 2,000 to beat the Allen Iverson 76ers. They also did lose game one. They also fell victim to a signature moment, the AI step over, when he had 51 in that overtime win. But then the Lakers won the next four games. Hopefully, we can follow suit. Hopefully, we can do the same thing. But as it stands right now, Vegas is seeing a huge, huge increase in belief in the Pacers, and the odds are reflecting that. Right now, we see OKC started minus 700. They're already down minus 325. Indiana came in as plus 575 favorites to win the series, down to plus 260. The odds have been cut in half. The momentum has swung. The belief in the Pacers has swung. This game one, them stealing game one on a shot like they exactly almost like they did to the Knicks, has made people believe that they could do the exact same thing to the Thunder, upset, stun, and topple OKC to the tune of their first championship in franchise history. They truly believe this after game one, and it is much more of a belief, way worse than we would have thought coming into it. Let's take a look at what the experts have to say about this, right? ESPN did an article before the finals, and they surveyed their 32 NBA experts on what they thought was going to happen prior to the series starting and how it was going to end. Let's take a look at the results of this, because out of those 32 surveyed experts, 29 of those guys chose the Thunder to win the series. Three chose the Pacers. But it wasn't just the fashion, excuse me, just the team they chose, but it was the fashion in which they chose this team to win. Half of the people, odd number, so you can't have exactly half, but 14 of 29 chose the Thunder to win in exactly 5 games. We would have to sweep the rest of the games to do that after dropping the first one. And another analyst picked the Thunder to sweep the series, and he was incorrect, already out of the picture. So the belief has already been like of what the consensus of what was supposed to happen has already been shattered, and Vegas is swinging the odds to reflect that much, much heavier than we would have thought coming into this series. Now, let's take a look at what else has happened since this has occurred, right? We take a look at Halliburton hits the game winner. He is the man of the series, of course. But when we take a look at how they think this series is going to end, a bigger implication of this, like we saw, a lot of people had OKC winning this in 5 games, yet now the reflection of the most likely way this series is going to end is in seven. Odds on ESPN have the Thunder winning in seven at a plus 250, and that is the lowest odds for an exact pick you can get in a 7 game series. The belief in the Pacers is rising and swelling, and Vegas is keeps reflecting that across the board, as we can see. And it's just absolutely stunning for me as a fan who really expected the Thunder to come out in game one and lay it to them. And yet, a lot of teams probably expected their guys to do that against the Pacers coming into the thing. But time and time again, we've seen the man Tyrese Haliburton deliver and deliver for Pacers fans, break the hearts of the others. When we look at what the league thought of this guy coming into the playoff run, it is absolutely stunning how the belief in this guy has shifted. Let's take a look at this, right? Coming into the playoffs, these were the finals MVP odds that you could bet on. They believed there was a better chance that Jimmy Butler on the seventh seeded Warriors could run the gauntlet of the West, make it to the finals, win the finals while outperforming Steph Curry in the finals to be the most valuable player while being traded to the team mid-season. They believe there was a higher chance that Jimmy Butler could win Finals MVP. They believed a better chance Derek White could win the Finals MVP on a team with, at the time, an uninjured, untorn Achilles Jason Tatum. At the time, with the reigning Finals MVP Jalen Brown on the squad, the second highest paid player in the league, Jalen Brown on the squad, they believe there was a better chance that Derek White could raise that trophy than Tyrese Haliburton. James Harden, a guy with the label, the moniker of a playoff choker throughout his career. On his last leg almost in the NBA, he wasn't all-star this year, but this guy's not in his prime. And he's on a team with a playoff riser in Kawhi Leonard. They thought there was a better chance James Harden would bring home the hardware than Tyrese Haliburton coming into the series. Alperen Sengun, a guy who was not even the clear number one on his team. I think he is better than Jalen Green, but that's not the discussion of the day. But he's on a 1-2 punch and would have had to run the West, make it to the finals, win the chip. They thought that was the equivalent, same odds as Tyrese Halliburton winning the finals MVP. Looking at this right now, it is astounding to see the odds, and Tyrese Halliburton has just step by step gotten those odds more and more into his favor, and he just took another step in game one. And like we saw, his team took that step also, cutting their odds of winning the series in half. Absolutely insane, insane odds, insane shift from Vegas. The belief is way, way worse than we thought as Thunder fans. But I want to know your guys' pick for Finals MVP. If it's still Shea, how many games you think we're winning? And do you think it's seven? Like the odds suggest it most likely would be if the Thunder win. And who you think is going to be the X factor in game two tonight and a final score? Give me something in the comments to let me know where you guys' heads are at, what we're thinking. This has been Gabriel Ebersole with Thunder Digest. I'll see you guys in the next one.